I understand it might make you feel good to do this and go through this process, but unfortunately, I'm not going to use it because nothing you can do or have done is going to influence this judge. You have just drawn the worst judge in America. I'm sorry. Maybe another judge, perhaps, but not this judge. It is devastating as a defendant to hear that your mitigation efforts are useless. It's even harder, I think, to hear it from people you've retained, like a lawyer. That happened earlier today when a client of our team was on the phone with his lawyer, and I joined that phone call and continued to hear this lawyer say, nothing you will do will change the outcome. Nothing you will do will influence this judge. He essentially is going to rubber stamp what the AUSA says. Sorry. Now, I'm of the opinion there were other reasons the lawyer was so dismissive of the mitigation efforts our client had put in place. I'm going to touch on a few of them in this video, but suffice to say it was hard for our client to hear. When it was my time to speak, I was direct but polite and started by saying, "Might I ask a question?" He said, "Sure, we're big boys. Ask away." I said, "Okay. You understand that our client borrowed more than 6 figures from friends and family to retain your team?" "Yes." "Should also disclose our client borrowed money from friends and family to retain our team of white collar advice, albeit significantly lower rate." He understood that too. I also understand our client owes about $450,000 in restitution to Medicare. And I understand that our client, like any client, wants the shortest possible sentence, and perhaps making a restitution payment at sentencing could influence this judge. Nope, not with this judge. This judge is going to rubber stamp whatever the AUSA says. No restitution, no nothing matters. Okay, not even making a payment is going to change things. I understand that. So if nothing is going to change the outcome, if I may speak directly, why didn't he go with a federal public defender? He borrowed money to retain our teams, and nothing, according to you, is going to change that this judge is going to rubber stamp the AUSA's recommendation. Why not go with a federal public defender and not borrow money from friends and family, or have friends and family send that money to him for commissary, or to start a new business, or do something different? Crickets, no big boy talk there. And that leads into some lawyers, including a friend of mine with whom I contribute on Fox News, telling me, "Justin, you might be too direct, too honest, too cynical with lawyers. To grow your business, perhaps you should scale it back." And my response is, nope, I ain't dancing. I ain't scaling it back. Michael and I and our team have grown a multi-million-dollar consulting practice by telling the truth. And if that's off-putting to some lawyers, it's all good. Our team is developing a directory, topwca.com. Already have 100 lawyers in the queue. We'll go live the end of this month. We'll have more than 6 figures vested in this project where we are vetting the best lawyers in every district. So when people who are in trouble need a lawyer, we can refer them to the best one, not a lawyer who claims they don't believe in mitigation. But again, I don't think that's the real reason this lawyer said this. I don't think that's the real reason. Why are some other reasons this lawyer could have been averse to this work? It's not because he truly believes a judge is averse to mitigation. That is utter sickening nonsense. A judge, of course, can be influenced in both good and bad ways. Part of my belief is some lawyers don't like giving up any control, right? Any control over this case. And there's no doubt a mitigation expert or a specialist, something our team does, could be viewed as a threat to them. It could take away some of their control. It could create more work for them. And that is concerning to some people. Think about that for a moment. You've never hired a lawyer. Our client, when he retained our team, had never hired a lawyer. He hired this lawyer, but prior to that, he never hired a lawyer, didn't know what questions to ask, didn't know how to vet, didn't speak to other clients, didn't do any due diligence, didn't look at other outcomes this lawyer had produced. In other words, if you're contemplating hiring a lawyer in a certain district, something you could say is, well, show me like 3 successful outcomes you've had in this district that will help me make a good decision. And what I mean is, show me a few cases where you had clients get below guideline sentences. That gives me comfort. He didn't do that. Instead, he hired and borrowed money, hired a lawyer who is now laughing at him and telling him all of the work that he is doing is useless. So you must embrace and retaining mitigation specialists who are going to teach you how to hold a lawyer accountable. It could absolutely create more work for them. That's part of the problem here, in my opinion. Another issue is could be a resistance to change and embracing ideas that they have never done before. Our team has a great, wonderful client in Minnesota, and the lawyer's like, we've done this for 75 years, doesn't mean that it's right. And specifically, we're talking about advocating and the beautiful assets we've created, sharing with a probation officer. And the lawyer loved it, and the lawyer said, I love it, this is great stuff, but I've never shared it with a PO before. It's like, well, why? Things have changed. Are we growing? Are we evolving? Let's grow together. Let's innovate and do creative things that can influence the ultimate sentence, especially because the First Step Act passed, and many lawyers are unaware of how that law can impact them at sentencing and in prison by virtue of this mitigation. So when this lawyer said, sorry, nothing you do will matter, I know there was a deeper problem there. He didn't want to have others get influenced in this case. He was resistant to change in some of the advice that our team can give. And I also know that many lawyers have had bad past experiences with consultants. In the last week, a lawyer with whom I spoke and said to me that a client of his got some bad information. In other words, he paid someone who said they can guarantee a certain prison. And of course, you can't guarantee a certain prison. If someone takes a fee to do that, they're lying to you. They're stealing from you. Odds are you get the prison anyway, but to insinuate that someone can get a certain prison is akin to stealing. It's unethical. It's criminal. But many people do it because they have nothing else to sell. And that could be off-putting to many lawyers who feel as if their clients are going to be exploited, because most lawyers embrace mitigation. They also care for their clients. Indeed, everyone on our directory will care for their clients because we will have vetted them. But many have had bad experiences. Many years ago, he had a client, probably our richest client, who retained Kecker Van Ness in San Francisco. And I spoke with the lawyer. He said, I reviewed your website. It looks very good, and I'm impressed with what your team is doing, but I'm averse to working with specialists. Why? Then he referenced a case about these RDAP consultants back in Indiana or the Midwest who were all in prison because they had guaranteed people's admittance into the RDAP program. And I said, you have to understand that's akin to me saying no one should ever hire a lawyer because some lawyer in the Midwest embezzled money from the trust fund. Are you going to indict everyone who tries to do what our team does? That's not fair. And he said, you know what, you're right. But it did leave me with a bad taste when I read that article. And I said, if you reviewed our website, you know that we frequently say in every message, can't change the past, can't guarantee the future, but we believe in advocacy and working every day to create a new record and to prove worthy to love and support a family. So that's a message I can get behind. Another reason some people could be averse to it, or some lawyers could be averse to our work, is the dynamic of growing a team that includes people who've been formerly incarcerated. There was one lawyer many years ago who said he was embarrassed after he said it, but it was a client of ours in the Midwest. And our client had asked him to watch these interviews with Judge Bennett and Judge Boo that Michael Santos filmed. And he kind of said something like, he served 26 years in prison. Like, that's not normal. Like, you want to learn from someone who served 26 years in prison. He's referring to Michael Santos. And he was somewhat apologetic and embarrassed after he said it, but it didn't change that he was averse to bringing someone on who had served a long time in prison, including other people like me who had served time in federal prison. We were being judged for our prison record rather than the record that we've created on top of that. These are obstacles that you're going to overcome if you seek or need the advice of a guidance or lawyer to retain our team. And I'll be transparent. It was an issue earlier in my career, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13, and 2014. Not anymore. If anything, someone would be more compelled to retain our team if they said their lawyer was averse to it, because we have so many outcomes. We have so much data. We have so much evidence. Our work with the Bureau of Prisons, just the outcomes we have produced. It's not an issue anymore, but for a long time it was. And there were some people that would cower, wouldn't proceed, and they would all call back down the road and say, I wish I had done more to mitigate. I wish I had created that record. Instead, I've wasted this opportunity, and now I know my lawyer is going to say things about me at sentencing, and I now know that's what he's paid to say. I haven't done the work. I'm not really worthy of a shorter sentence. So while it doesn't happen much anymore, it doesn't change that it could happen, and you need to be prepared to respond with good, solid questions, Socratic type questioning. Follow up, don't cower, and ultimately make your decision on what makes the most sense. And last thing I want to convey is why some lawyers could be averse to it. And I know part of the reason this lawyer would have been averse to it, they just don't understand the long-term effects of mitigation. They don't understand how the work that you create today could influence you long after sentencing. In addition to the lawyer directory that we're creating, we're beginning to create infographics or timelines for our clients who have been productive throughout the journey, the date they got indicted and everything they've done and accomplished throughout that process over a lengthy period of time. And think about how persuasive that can be at a sentencing hearing, but also as you go through prison, continue to develop and grow and build out that timeline, because at some point you're going to go back to your judge to try to get out of prison early, or early termination, or more liberty in the halfway house. And if you have done the work and not documented it, it is a total travesty. It is an absolute shame to have done the work and not share it, because if you've done it and you don't share it, yes, you have the knowledge, but you're going to have cynical stakeholders say to you, if you didn't show me, you didn't do it. So there is no doubt there are some lawyers who just don't look past sentencing, and that's not really their job. Their goal is to try to get you the best plea, to get you the best sentence. Then they move on, but your journey is just continuing, right? It's like you're like just barely rounding first base after you've got sentenced. You've got a long road to go. So as I wrap up this video about why some lawyers could be averse to sentencing mitigation, I'll come back to what our client did today following this phone call. His exact words were, it was hard for me to hear that my lawyer was dismissing the work that we have done. But while my lawyer doesn't believe in it, I do. While my lawyer doesn't believe in my efforts to try to change and grow and do the right thing and prove that I'm worthy of a better opportunity, while he doesn't embrace it, I know that I do. And I'm glad that I'm doing the work, and I'm going to continue to do the work. And I said, I admire you for doing that work. So if you're going through this process, here's my recommendation to you. Hold that lawyer accountable, ask good questions, and create. By now, you know I'm not a proponent of spending money on consulting. That's why we create YouTube videos. We give away so much free content about prison life, the commissary, jobs in prison, all of those things. What I want you to invest in is the creation of assets that will influence people who are going to determine how long you serve in prison, the length of your sentence, how much liberty you have in the halfway house, but really what happens for the rest of your life. It only starts by creating something and building it and measuring it and growing it and doing bold things and trying new things, because only by starting do you then know how or when to pivot. You need to do this whether your lawyer likes it or not. You need to do this whether you're told you have the toughest damn judge in America or not. And of course, it might not influence everyone to the degree that you would like, but you will have done the work and you can have an asset that you can draw from and use for weeks, months, and years to come. To my client, you're awesome. I'm grateful you encouraged me to film this video. Without that encouragement, I would not have done it. Thank you all for watching and for joining the White Collar Advice community.